Corporate data breaches. The third-party vendor factor case study. A September 14, 2015 report from the Atlantic Council in conjunction with Zurich Insurance Group revealed that cyber attacks might cost organizations up to $120 trillion by 2030. But despite this and warnings of increasing cyber attacks, business surveys in the UK, Europe, and the US indicate that most businesses, especially small businesses, are underestimating the impact that a cyber attack could have on their reputation. This complacency is misplaced since 83% of consumers surveyed by KPMG, one of the world's big four audit, tax, and advisory firms, are now concerned about which businesses have access to their data and whether it's safe. And over half, 58%, say that a cyber breach would discourage them from using a business in the future. This concern is even greater in the supply chain. Recently published KPMG supply chain research supports this. 86% of procurement departments would consider removing a supplier from their roster due to a breach, highlighting that an attack can have serious short- and long-term implications. 94% of procurement managers say that cybersecurity standards are important when awarding a project to a supplier. This is reflected by the fact that the majority, 89%, of small businesses surveyed who have experienced a breach felt the attack impacted their reputation in some way, with 31% of those having been breached reporting brand damage, 30% reporting a loss of clients, and a quarter receiving negative reviews on social media. Target corporations, TGT, can attest to the impact of a cyber breach. It reported it is still feeling the pain from a huge data breach at the end of 2013, reporting in February 2015 that it has incurred $252 million in costs arising from the data breach through the end of 2014. And they expect those expense figures will continue to mount as they continue to deal with ongoing litigation and regulatory fallout from the breach. Earlier this year, it was reported that their 2015 Christmas sales were down 40% as they continue to struggle to regain customer confidence. In less than 2 years, July 2015, after the Target data breach, hackers used a similar method to hack into the online photo centers of CVS, Walmart, and Costco, potentially compromising consumers' payment and personal information. Both the Target and CVS, Walmart, Costco cases highlight one of the major security vulnerabilities for almost every retailer: third-party vendors. The 2013 TrustWave Global Security Report revealed that 63% of the 450 data breaches studied were linked to a third-party component of IT system administration, meaning a third party had introduced security deficiencies easily exploited by hackers. And according to Verizon's 2013 data breach investigation report, 76% of network intrusions exploited weak or stolen credentials. In the following examples, we will look at 2 cases involving third-party vendor breaches, and then examine some of the best practices companies can employ to prevent vendor security breaches. Case 1. Target Corporation data breach. Just days before Thanksgiving 2013, cyber criminals installed malware in Target Corporation's security and payments system. The malware was designed to steal every credit card's information used at the company's 1,797 U.S. stores. As Christmas gifts were scanned and bagged, and the cashier customers swiped the credit card, the malware went into action to capture the shopper's credit card number and store it on a Target server commandeered by the hackers. Then, a week before Christmas 2013, millions of Target customers were informed that credit card data from approximately 40 million Target customers had been stolen by accessing data on point-of-sale (POS) systems. That number was subsequently revised to include private data for 70 million customers. To date, it was the largest retail hack in U.S. history. It was later determined that Target missed internal alerts and only found out about the breach when they were contacted by the Department of Justice. The hackers took a series of steps to obtain access to the credit card data and retrieve it from Target systems. And it appears that a breakdown in detection further increased data loss. Security experts from Verizon, hired by Target Corporation just days after the data breach was announced, confirmed what security experts have long suspected. Once inside Target's network, there was nothing to stop attackers from gaining direct and complete access to every single cash register in every Target store. According to an internal corporate report obtained by Krebs on Security, the Verizon assessment, completed March 1, 2014, notably found no controls limiting their access to any system, including devices within stores, such as point-of-sale registers and servers. The report noted that Verizon consultants were able to directly communicate with point-of-sale registers and servers from the core network. In one instance, they were able to communicate directly with cash registers in checkout lanes after compromising a deli meat scale located in a different store. Verizon's findings lend credence to the working theory about how hackers initially broke into Target. It appears that Fazio Mechanical, a small heating and air conditioning firm in Pennsylvania that worked with Target, had suffered its own breach via malware delivered in an email 2 months before the Target data breach. In that intrusion, the thieves managed to steal the virtual private network credentials that Fazio's technicians used to remotely connect to Target's network. Security experts later assessed that data from Target customers was subsequently moved to drop locations on hacked servers all over the world via FTP, File Transfer Protocol, the protocol for exchanging files over the Internet. While the attack was in progress, monitoring software, FireEye, alerted staff in Bangalore, India. They, in turn, notified Target staff in Minneapolis, but no action was taken. The stolen credit card data from Target customers was used to make counterfeit credit cards that were later sold on the black market. A March 2014 Bloomberg Business Report revealed that, in testimony before Congress, Target has said that it was only after the U.S. Department of Justice notified the retailer about the breach in mid-December that company investigators went back to figure out what happened. Poring over computer logs, Target found FireEye's alerts from November 30th and more from December 2nd, when hackers installed yet another version of the malware. Not only should those alarms have been impossible to miss, they went off early enough that the hackers hadn't begun transmitting the stolen card data out of Target's network. Had the company's security team responded when it was supposed to, the theft that has since engulfed Target touched as many as 1 in 3 American consumers and led to an international manhunt for the hackers never would have happened at all. Case 2. CVS Data Breach. CVS confirmed in September 2015 that its online photo center, cvsphoto.com, was in fact breached, potentially compromising consumers' payment and personal information. The breach was first suspected back in July when security blogger Brian Krebs reported that the Canadian-based company PNI Digital Media, a third-party vendor that services and hosts Walmart's, Costco's, and CVS's online photo centers, appeared to have been infiltrated by hackers. In July, PNI Digital Media, which is owned by Staples, announced it was the latest victim of a hack, with several retailers in the US, Canada, and the UK temporarily shutting down their photo sites. Staples acknowledged that PNI was investigating a potential credit card data issue, but didn't specify which retailers were affected. Still, Costco, Sam's Club, CVS, Rite Aid, and Tesco quickly took action to shut down their online photo sites after being notified by PNI of the possible breach, or after hearing reports from other retailers. Security experts assessed that in addition to credit and debit card information, hackers may have also taken personal information, including first and last names, phone numbers, email addresses, and usernames and passwords, belonging to those who logged into the website between June 2014 and July 2015. That was later confirmed in September 2015 when CVS reported that the breach of cvsphoto.com included credit card information for some customers, as well as names, phone numbers, email addresses, usernames, and passwords. CVS immediately disabled its photo center shortly after news of the breach broke, and announced that it was currently reviewing the security practices for its vendor host and working to restart the website. By early November 2015, CVS's photo center was back online. Best practices to prevent vendors from making you a data breach victim. While it is probably not practical or efficient for organizations to just cut off vendor access to all of their systems, it doesn't mean you need to hand over the combination to your vault. As we address some best practices to prevent or minimize data breaches, we will not address in any detail encrypting data or putting up firewalls. Let's assume you already have those implemented. The following are actions that you may not have considered but should. They can make a big impact on improving vendor access security. 1. A good contract with your vendor is your best protection against liability. It should require vendors to limit the number of people who have access to your data, ensure data is encrypted and securely maintained, conduct periodic background checks on their employees, transmit data only in a controlled and protected manner, include notification requirements if a security breach occurs, cite the specific state and federal notification laws the vendor must follow. Involve your attorney in drafting and reviewing the contract. It should stipulate that the vendor is legally responsible for any data breach that occurs, and that it will protect you and your employees for any actions arising from such a breach. Not surprisingly, vendors are often reluctant to include that type of language in their contracts, but it's critical. Ideally, the contract should obligate the vendor to pay any damages resulting from the data loss, no matter when it occurs. Of note, today, more vendors are outsourcing services to other countries, where lax law enforcement makes controlling risk more difficult. Negotiate contract language that requires vendors to obtain your approval before moving work offshore. 2. Consolidate remote access tools. How many vendors have remote access to your systems right now? And are they all using the same solution or a bunch of different tools? It's probably the latter. If you force every vendor and internal IT staff to use one consolidated company-approved solution to remotely access any internal system, you will greatly improve your ability to monitor and block shady activity. Modern remote support tools allow technicians to access nearly any type of system or platform, so there is no longer a need for a large number of point solutions. And by making vendors use your tool for remote access versus their own, you take back monitoring control of your company's security. 3. Segregate your system. Segregate financial, security, customer, and employee data storage systems from each other, as well as from the data used for routine operations management. 4. Capture a secure audit trail. Most companies don't know they've been hacked until quite a while after the incident, e.g. CVS's breach was June 2014 to July 2015. And as the Target breach shows, just because someone had gained legitimate access into your network, it doesn't mean they should be there. A disgruntled vendor or employee could be just as treacherous as an outside cybercriminal. Your remote access tool needs to capture a secure audit trail of every action performed on any system, tied to the unique credentials of the individual user. And that audit trail needs to be stored in a secure place within your own network, not the vendor's. 5. Layer your security. Multiple layers of security can slow down cyber thieves, as well as limit what they can access and steal in a single attack. Adopt a minimum necessary access policy. Allow users and their devices only what they need to perform their required tasks. Update access rights in response to personnel or system changes. Never permit multiple employees or department members to share a password. Assign each a discrete password and never let them share passwords. External and internal technical alert systems are part of your layered defense, but so are your employees. They are probably at the tip of the so-called layered defensive spear. Employees are often the hacker's first point of attack. Think spear phishing, easily deciphered passwords, mindlessly misplaced smartphones and laptops, and improperly secured devices that access your secure systems. They should be provided with periodic security awareness training. Many companies overlook the insider threat from a disgruntled employee or one who is going through financial or marital difficulties. Your supervisors have daily contact with your employees and, along with fellow employees, are the ones who are in the best position to spot potential insider threats. Comprehensive training is a must. 6. Create a data breach response plan. No matter how well you follow these best practices, you might get breached. In fact, you should plan for it. Nearly half of all organizations suffered a security incident in the past year. You should exercise your response plan with the staff and vendors who will implement the plan to determine if there are any gaps or unforeseen consequences to response actions laid out in the plan. Having a response plan and exercising the plan ahead of time will allow you to close or minimize vulnerabilities and limit the damage a data breach can cause.